Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, July 6, 2026 Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board meeting. We have a quorum, and so we'll proceed. The posted meeting agenda needs to be corrected with the addition of, under the end of the meeting, we'll be looking at referrals for Grace Bible is asking for a timeline extension, and we have a signed referral from the ZBA for the Foster Flooring project. So we'll be taking those up at the end of the meeting. Other than that, the agenda stands as posted. You have Jim's meeting notes. Does anyone have any questions or comments? May I have a motion to accept the meeting notes? Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carried. We have in draft form the June 15 minutes. Are there any corrections or additions that need to be made?
Moving second.
Motion, second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Any correspondence or announcements? Hearing none, we'll begin with the first new application for this evening. That is at Phantom Gardner, 683 Route 9, site plan review for a new showroom, greenhouse and garden center. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Mark Kaminsky here, representing Legacy Real Estate Design, Phantom Garden. This is a beginning with the site plan application for some improvements in the property. I'll first go through some of the existing conditions on the property, and then one of the partners from Phantom tell me how they can speak to some of the improvements that are being proposed. This is Route 9. This is the perimeter right here of the property. And what's shown are, it's a combination of, I have a combination here of the site plan. Shows the existing conditions. There's two access points here from Route 9 and Route 9 area. There's also some drainage, excuse me, from the state highway. It's located through here, and there's a swale along there. And so, multiple ways to get in. There's a driveway along through here, and then main access is through here with parking located here. And then, excuse me, as you go back into the property, it's storage for inventory throughout the property. Once again, that jogs back here. That was from a previous lot line alteration subdivision that was done several years ago. This right here is the old railroad bed. The Hucklebush line, I believe, goes right through here. Also located on North Street, located to the north and to the south, there's some. So I took a look at both New York State DEC and also the Oakland Corps of Engineers for wetland locations. So there's some wetlands that are located here, and then also in this location through here. That's here, and then also joining, associated with that is a 100-foot adjacent area that's located right through here. And so then, once again, inventory back in this section through here. In doing the current existing conditions on this, is total acreage is 6.357 acres. And so, in this table right here, I looked at the zoning district bulk regulations, and found that basically there was two situations where I could see the required the required values for this current zoning district, which is Community Business South, CBS South. And so on this right here, the maximum lot coverage allowable is 55%. And actually, in doing that, and considering all the surface area, buildings, et cetera, it works out to 57.2%. So there's a requirement to make the application to the Town of Rhinebeck zoning board of appeals. And then also with regard to maximum building coverage, which they was allowed is 10%, and what's actually shown here is it's actually 12.9%. So that's under the allowable coverage for the site. All other setbacks are the exception of total lot coverage. At the last meet, initial, pre-application discussion with the board, a couple items were brought up. One of the items being access off of Route 9. And so we did have a meeting with New York State DOT. Unfortunately, it was Bill Rhodes, excellent guy who worked with DOT, but it was his last day. His retirement. But we did have a pretty direct and productive discussion. The short answer is the entrance right now, it's basically just gravel entrance. DOT is going to require to have a curved entrance for this. With the option, and there was a discussion whether there would be 2 points, right? If we have one in, one out, or a single. And so that's something that's something that we're going to work on and develop to determine the best way to have traffic flow to the site, not only for customers but also for deliveries, which tractor trailers that. And so that's one of the items that we need to work out. And for re-applications of this board, certainly want to develop that area, and obviously the other items that have come up from our discussion.
TPC on the final site, or DOT on the final site on that?
Yes, yeah, it's ultimately will require a permit with the DOT. And it was pretty extensive, so it's something that Legacy will work out internally, and then I guess will make it's a permit that's going to be required from DOT. Then it's also part of this proposal is removal of a portion of the existing building, and then new additions would be added. And so one of the partners, Tony Valdo, can speak to that directly. No plans, architectural plans have been submitted to this board, and so we can speak to that. Other than that, the balance of the site remains the same, and then changes are basically changed on the eastern portion of the site with access, and also those buildings are to be partially demolished, and then new structures to be developed. One of the questions that I had, and it's directed for Jim, is I'm a little confused with what's occurred with New York State DEC with regard to jurisdictional determination. And it's, so it's my understanding, I probably sent out about 40 of those to, for the various projects. And then, so it's my understanding that there was a lawsuit to DEC, and so the DEC could Well, I'm not sure. I'm unsure of what, the status is of DEC. Jim, do you have any?
I can explain it in a second if you just want to finish what you're doing. I've got some notes in here. I don't 100% understand it myself, but I can give you what I do.
Okay.
All right.
Other than that, for, existing conditions on the site, maybe Tony, you can talk about the buildings a little bit. Jim, do you have those drawings?
So proposed building footprint and elevations.
Tony Cobble, the family gardener. So like Mark has explained, we're looking to do a pretty substantial renovation to our place. The biggest reason being it's not for more customers, it's just for flow and ease of use. If you've ever shopped with us before, it gets pretty congested inside there. And it's kind of outdated at this point. Everything is years and years and years of different additions and little things added on from previous owners, and we're just trying to really kind of clean it up. The existing greenhouse is not attached to anything and it's pretty old at this point. It's not worth renovating and heating and trying to get to a working condition where we can use it year round. The existing showroom and inside is sunk down. It's really kind of hard for anybody with any kind of disabilities to get in and out. And then again, the cash register is on the opposite back corner away from where the door is. So when you go in to check out, you really kind of get congested and then locked in there, and trying to get out gets difficult. So we're just trying to brighten the place up a little bit, make things a little more continuous, move things back away from the road. The existing pergola that's there now, we would like to take that down, along with the front of the showroom, which, that's all right. So right now, this is where our existing showroom is, right here. So that whole section would get taken down. This part is the existing two-story portion right here. And what we would want to do is add from here back the new showroom, and then the greenhouse would be attached to it. And then back here, like you can see, looking just towards the east, the greenhouse comes off one side, and this is a receiving area, because right now we're like unloading pottery, things that need to go in the store outside, and then trying to sticker and tag stuff outside. So this kind of gives everything, cleans everything up. One of the other things that we did is there's like a front porch here that goes around, basically all the way around to the far side, and covers the south, east, and north side of the building. That in here then becomes where like our bag product would be. So like the compost bag, soil, things like that would be undercover and kind of cleaned up that way. The greenhouse would be attached. A portion of it would be heated for the winter for houseplants and things like that, and then so basically half of it would be heated for the winter, the other, the back half would not be heated. That's essentially what we're looking to do. Any other questions?
Is that conclude your presentation? Okay, Jim, turn it over to you.
Okay. Just a couple things. I think overall, I don't see any real issues with the proposal. Just a couple comments. One, Mark, you noted one variance is needed. I think you might need two or three. We'll catch up on those.
Okay.
The lot coverage is the one you mentioned. I think we might have one for open space and possibly one or two in setbacks, but we can talk about those. I might be off, but it's
Okay.
same. Have you applied to the ZBA yet?
No.
Okay, so we'll just make sure we don't get the same application, just do it all at once. You submitted for wetland permit. I don't actually think you need. Do you know what? Do you think you did? Because I didn't. I don't based on here. Okay.
I don't think that we,
Okay.
but
So
that's, but I,
I know we talked about it. We were
Right.
kind of trying to figure it out at the time, but I don't think you need a wetland permit because you're not doing anything. You're not disturbing any area here, right?
Right.
So,
and as best I can tell, you can see in the tape.
well, we can talk about that next. That's something different. So, folks, the town permit only runs off of the federal wetlands, right? Not the DEC
Right.
wetlands. So, again, I don't think you need a wetland permit, so we can pull. I think we can pull that one from the application. As far as the DEC goes, I said it on a webinar last week, and I still don't totally understand exactly what's going on. But my understanding of what's going on with the DEC jurisdictional determinations is that the regulations that took effect on January 1st, 2025 were struck down by the court in Albany. They were sued by a developer, and the developer won. Those regulations were not challenged by the DEC. I guess their time was up in order to challenge those, so the court order will stick for now unless and until the DEC decides to do something else. So effectively what that does, although maybe it's not 100%, is it puts the wetland standards back to where they were prior to January 1st in terms of what they look at and what they want to review. The regulatory mapping, which is not a guarantee of what is a DEC wetland, but that's what I use as a basis, did show DEC wetlands here with the updated mapping, but those disappear when you go back to the old maps.
Exactly.
So I don't think you have any jurisdictional determination wetlands on this property as of the way the law sits now because of the lawsuit. But you already applied to the DEC, right? So you're gonna have to close that out. So when I sat on the webinar, I believe what I heard is that if you've applied for one and you don't think you need any more, you have to go back to the DEC and ask them to review that and essentially pull that application.
Well, we never made an application.
Oh, you did make an application?
No.
Oh,
The only
okay.
thing was,
I thought you
was a
had.
request for jurisdictional determination, so,
Right, you made the request for the JD.
yes.
Yeah, so you have to go back and just get them to clear that and make sure you don't need it.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
okay.
Because I don't think you need the JD either.
Doesn't that seem, that seems,
There was a question
it
raised.
seems contradictory, right, because the lawsuit doesn't, didn't it just, so the lawsuit said they
This is
weren't
where-
allowed to do that.
Right. You can do what you want with it, but my understanding from the webinar is that if you want to get it pulled, you have to make a request to them to say, yes, you officially don't need our jurisdiction, you don't need the jurisdiction determination. Which doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense to me because the process is going to take 60 to 90 days, but they're saying that they're prioritizing those requests. So, you applied. I don't think for the board's purposes you need the JD because there are no jurisdictional wetlands here now based on the old maps. But I guess you can do what you want with your submission to them for the JD. But that was my understanding, is you had to get in touch with them just to try and clear that with their,
Okay,
in their queue.
I think, but also, so when you look at their new maps, are you talking about what they have in blue now, or?
Well, so it was, they created new maps, right? When the law came in, but we're back to the old ones.
Right, but the new ones, they have, because they showed where there were delineated wetlands, where they had done validated wetlands, they showed that. And then when you turned on another layer, for, which I thought, that's what they were taking a look at. Turned on a layer that was all blue and it showed there was.
This is the map. So this was the
Right.
this was the new map, right? So this is the wetland area we'd be looking at, I believe, for this property. When it comes in here.
Right, but I thought, the way I understood that is, that needed to be field verified. That's my understanding, that was not field verified.
Correct, but it doesn't matter because we're now back to this map.
Right,
Because the courts shot that down, and that wetland disappears. It's not on the list. So you don't have a jurisdictional wetland here regardless, it's not shown, so we never would have requested it
okay,
had we been on the maps. But you've already filed something with the DEC, so my understanding from the webinar listened to last week is you're supposed to just get that off their plate, but I mean, you can handle it how you want.
we can talk about online, I don't want to sort of, but I thought DEC sent out a letter, it's like, there was some kind of sunset on that.
Well, it was 90 days unless they wrote to you, and then you had to hit 110.
No, it was if you had submitted at a certain time, there was a certain time frame. I don't want to take.
For the purpose of this board, I don't think they need a wetland permit from the town, and I don't think you need jurisdictional determination. So beyond that, you do whatever we need to do to clear it up with DEC.
Thank you.
That was it. Those are my only questions, but we'll catch up on the variances. I think might be necessary. Maybe I misread something.
Okay.
But you know we have to apply, so we'll just confirm we have the right ones.
Okay, great, thank you.
Planning board members, questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
On the site plan, the building that you're taking away, you're demolishing, the very front part of the structures.
This part, right?
So
That's
that, as I understand it, you are not replacing that with anything. That is now space that recedes back from the road, correct? And in front of that building currently, there's a patio. You have it marked as a patio.
Yeah.
What happens there? So what happens in front of what the building will be now?
So the existing buildings here, and there's a pergola that's right here, that patio, all of that will go away. Our plan is to, like, parking gets very tight right here, so we'd love to be able to get rid of most of the parking, if not all the parking in the front. Obviously now with the entrance being here, parking is gonna be, people will naturally park there going to the entrance. This we would like to be plant material, so it'd be more plants and, annuals, things like that. The patio will go away, because at that point the patio will look silly out there without anything around it. So all of that stuff will be gone, and it'll be more of like, like our perennial yard that's there now on the side, that kind of thing.
And what will the greenhouse be constructed of?
Be very similar to the existing one that's there. It'll be an aluminum structure. The greenhouses now, I got one price from the one greenhouse place. They're very expensive to do it all in glass. So the sides that most of the public are going to see, we're hoping to do all in glass. So it's not a hoop house that's covered in plastic or anything. This is more of a retail garden greenhouse. So it will look like, ideally the bottom half is going to be cultured stone or some kind of stone, and then the rest will be like the aluminum and the glass, like a nicer greenhouse. So it won't be like a hoop house. The side that, this side here and that there, really no customers or anybody's going to be able to see that, because this building will be blocking it. We've talked with the builders about doing that part in the polycarbonate. It's like a thick panel, if you will, that's clear, and not glass, just to keep some of the costs down. But we haven't really nailed that part down yet.
And to go back to the site plan, you haven't yet decided exactly what the entry drive will be, correct?
Right.
That's something under discussion?
Yes.
Would you like to keep the two, what we'll call entrances?
Yes. But talking with Mark and the guy from DOT, and that, I think it's going to be cost prohibitive to be able to do that.
And why would that be?
Well, it's about $60,000 per entry
To what?
to do the curb, the concrete curb, and to bring up to what DOT is looking for, I believe, in their standards, at least from my understanding right now.
Right.
We haven't gotten too far into depth with that. We would love 2 entrances, but I just think, at the end of the day, between everything that's going on there, I think it's going to end up being more of a problem than it's worth.
I'm a frequent customer, and
I appreciate that.
it seems to me that those 2 entrances are very helpful.
Hey,
In
right,
my
right.
entering
Yeah.
and leaving and other
Yeah.
people driving through and so
Right.
forth.
So
It's been very helpful.
our goal is, so if you've frequented us before, you know the bag product is over here, like the bag soil and stuff is over here. Everyone comes in, they drive in, they park here, they get their bag product, and they typically drive around and come back out. We're hoping to keep that by making this one entrance in the middle here, losing this part, and just keeping this open, and then everybody's still going around. Now your bag product will be on this side of the building, so it won't congest this road as much, which would be helpful. You'll be able to get loaded and then pull right back out. So we're hoping for that.
So would you have a one-way in and one-way out?
Yes.
Now, if I'm just going to go inside your, display room,
Sure.
and I'm not gonna go around it, am I then forced to go around your entire building to leave, or how does that work?
To be honest with you, we haven't thought that far. Right now, it is kind of like some people can come in. There's enough room here where if you don't have to go that way, people typically back out and drive out and go that way. There is enough room currently. With everything gone in this section, at least, if nothing else, if you drew this as a straight line crossing that patio, it's going to make this much larger there as a drive. So there should be enough room for people to pass in both directions.
So part of the work that I'm doing in conversation with DOT, I need to run all the vehicle turning movements for DOT. That's part of their application. So, obviously the critical one are for all the deliveries from trailer trucks, right, from tractor trailers. But I need to develop a plan that'll obviously be shared with this board, but also it's part of the application to DOT to show all the turning movements to the property.
The one thing that I often think of when I'm leaving is, don't turn into those low areas that are right next to the road and get stuck in the ditch there?
We actually asked them about that. I asked about filling it in, and they kind of told us no.
Uh-huh.
So we wanted to like connect the pipe there, because there's a catch basin like in this area. So-
Right.
And it comes out here and it runs, and years ago, we actually had someone get stuck into it. So we asked about doing that, and DOT was like, no. So it was kind of one of those things where if we did, then it all became our problem all the time. So
So the curb will help with that.
hopefully, right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just have one clarifying question, maybe more for the board, but we had on another file, the old railroad come up a little bit. Just so, it's like someday could be used for preservation of a walking trail, but it's not, or something like that. Right, is that right? So is that just by rule a place that people just can't develop on? It's just like an easement that stays in place? So just remind me of this situation.
I believe that it came up when you put the new building into that.
It did.
Okay,
Yep.
just stays clear.
And it did come up with foster flooring.
Yeah, that's what I'm recalling, so I never mind.
But, I mean, the reality, I do a lot of trail work. If we were gonna if someone was gonna put a trail in here, I don't think we generally be looking to run it right through the property. You would kind of try and find another route around to try to work with the property owner. That's not ideal for anybody. But yeah, it should generally remain clear of buildings, so that should the trail eventually go in someday, there is some that work. But I don't think that would be.
But I also think when you look at the route of the trail from Rhine Cliff all the way up, the idea that you could make a continuous trail on there is pretty unlikely. All right, if there's.
Just one other thing, I noticed on the north side of the building, the stairs going upstairs. What's the,
The upstairs of the existing, so currently, there are stairs and a deck right here that go upstairs to, basically, there's 2 offices up there and a time clock room. So now with this being the main entryway, that kind of cluttered up that section. So we just moved them to the opposite side. So now the stairs will go up and actually into the time clock room and my office and and my partner's offices and the our manager's office.
no, good, thank you.
Only accessible from the exterior now, or?
Yeah, well, technically, inside, there's stairs that go down from our office down to the showroom. Those will still go down into the downstairs, like what we have as a stock room now. And there'll still be an entryway that'll go into the new showroom.
I have a question on the, I guess, the east side. You show the gravel drive, and that seems to partially go through the neighboring property. Is there an easement for that, or?
We're off of the neighbor's property now, where we have removed it and, let's see, so this is older. This building is now, there was a building here. We tore that down, and that's what shoved that driveway way out there.
All right, so you'll
So
stay within
we're
that.
staying within that, yes.
Okay, and if that,
That was the whole point of this, where we, honestly, it kind of messed everything up, because this building, believe it or not, is not square with the property line, so one side starts wider, then one side gets narrower, so we did the setback for that. We kept the whole driveway right along the sidewalk.
okay. And is that the property where there had been a house and a?
Yes. Yeah, they
Torn
tore
down.
down and did all that, yep. Okay. Yeah, north side of Auto Body owns that now, I think, and they're right up here.
Okay, then I think we have.
There's gonna be one comment, just back to this comment about circulation. Obviously, Mark, you have to talk with DOT, but I think if you can have customers that can come back out this way and not have to go around because they're gonna get stuck here, it's kind of like the idea you have a drive-through. Drive-throughs always have that bypass lane.
Yeah.
You don't want your customers coming out to get stuck and have someone who's loading up here. So if you can make that work, that would certainly be, I think, desirable for anyone shopping and leaving that.
Okay.
I think it's gonna happen naturally, just by having the trucks that have to go in there, and that I think that it's gonna force our hand to be wide enough to be able to have it go that way.
Okay, the other draft. Procedural resolution.
Yes, draft procedural resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Phantom Gardner for site plan approval under Town Code Chapter 125 for property 6837 Route 9 within the Community Business South Zoning District, accepting the application, supporting documents as adequate for further review, classifying the action as unlisted under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required, and this is because this project does not meet any of the thresholds for a type 2 application. It's certainly not a type 1. We will schedule the public hearing for the application for August 3rd.
Excuse me.
Yep.
I was just speaking to Tony, I'll need another, I need more time to develop everything with the DOT.
Also, running further out.
Yeah, yes, please. If we could just, we were gonna go to the, first meeting in August.
Yeah, look at August 3rd. If you want to go out another month, it would be September 8th, which is a Tuesday, or the 2nd August.
It's not be here September. What about, what was this?
September 21st would be the next one.
Yeah.
September 21st, month and a half.
Do you need 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, what are we talking?
I think, we need this, I won't be ready. When's the second meeting in August?
The 17th.
I can make that. We can make the second meeting in August.
Good news. So we can.
Great.
It's August 17.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, you can do that.
Thank you.
And we need 2 planning board members.
I will vote.
Go ahead.
Sure. Like paper scissors.
More than 2 can always go. We didn't have to.
Why don't we
Let's post it.
Sean, and then Sean can let others know, or and they can let others know when he's scheduled it, and anybody who wishes to attend can do so. Does that work?
That's fine.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
The next new application for this evening is that is Route 228 Stone Ridge Road for a minor subdivision, 2 lots.
Melody, whoever, I'm kissing myself.
Okay. Good evening. You want to come up and tell us what you'd like to do, introduce yourselves, let us know what you'd like to do.
I'm Frances Hogan, and I'm president of Zoo Farm Incorporated. We would like to divide 40 acres from 13 to 22, to sell the 40 acres so I can continue to stay on the farm with the 13.2. We had Mr. Wyatt come and check the entranceway, which is okay, yes, that's correct. And I believe you received a letter from him. He sent he emailed one, an email, I'm sorry, he sent an email.
We'll find it.
Okay, thank you.
And he said he would approve it.
Yes, he approved it and,
He didn't approve it, he said he would. It's
right.
your approval.
I really have nothing. We had talked in the pre-con about putting the scale bar on the plans. I didn't see that on there. It's not the end of the world. Other than that, I have no comments. I don't see any issues with the subdivision. We had talked about potential uses in the back and a desire to see the woodlands preserved. There are a lot of woods on there, but obviously that would be something to come about after the subdivision's done. Development comes in. But I have no issues with the proposal.
Planning board members? All right. Then we have the draft procedural resolution.
Yes. Draft procedural resolution for the board consideration for the subdivision at Zeitz Farm, minor subdivision of the time for chapter 101, for subdivision of 1 lot and 2 lots to 28 Stone Church Road within the RC5 zoning district, accepting the application supporting documents as adequate for further review, classifying the actions unlisted as secret for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. We will schedule the public hearing for the application for August 3rd. We will send it to the CAB for review. It does not go to the WAC or paper. I apologize, it should not be in there. We'll send it to, actually, it doesn't go to Dutchess County either. So we'll only send it to the CAB for review, scratch 6, 7, and 8. And we need 2 planning board members to do the same.
We'll go. Go and Sharon.
Go with you, Sharon. Please for trademark.
right, I hear a motion to accept the draft procedural resolution. Second. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carried. Thank you. I'll be in touch with you to schedule the site visit.
Just have a question. My name is Alan Malone. I'm an attorney, and I'm the executor of this Ron Seats' estate. So I just want to ask in terms of the process, are we going to be sending notices, or are you going to be sending notices?
Gretchen will go through all.
Oh, she's going to, you have the names and addresses?
I'll send an email with everything in it.
You'll send it?
Instructions and everything.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very well.
The next new application for this evening is that of Annie Maxey, 16 Howard Avenue, site plan special use permit for renovation and addition. Good evening.
Good evening, my name is Mel.
I really need to speak right into the microphone.
My name is Monica Alviso. I'm the representative from DSA Studios, and we're here representing Annie Maxey for house renovation and addition in Rhinebeck, New York. Do you want me to just talk through the architectural?
Yes, please. Talk through what you'd like to do.
Yep, so basically we're gonna work with the existing footprint of the house. We are not planning any additions that would expand the footprint. There is an existing carport as well as an existing street porch off the back of the house that we are proposing to demolish. With some investigation, we don't think that either one of those are originals in the house. They appear to be additions that might have happened in the 70s, and they're also a little bit structurally compromised at the moment. So we would like to remove those from the existing footprint of the house. And then within the existing footprint of the house, we're proposing building addition that's roughly 598 square feet that would be just built above the existing garage. So it would be expanding the ground floor footprint to have additional living space. And then within the existing footprint of the building, we would add a little bit more square footage on the second floor. Again, both don't expand existing footprint, and we're not making any changes to bedroom count. The existing roof lines on the pointer.
It's the second button down, the rectangular one.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing.
So these are existing plans. So this is the screen porch off the back that we would like to demolish. This is the small carport that we would also like to demolish. The existing roof lines here, there's sort of an existing entry that's confusing with 2 doors, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of existing roofs that don't have a ton of logic on the house. So if you want to shift to the proposed elevations, these are images of existing conditions on the house. So this is the existing garage footprint. We would be building this addition off to the west, which is also shown here, and that would be living space at the front of the house. We would be cleaning up those roof lines. So there would be one hip roof coming across the front of the house and hugging the eastern part of the house. And then this small space on the second floor, again, would be built above existing footprint. And that would be the second floor addition, and then we would just create a more cohesive gable roof at the second floor. Are there any questions?
Start with the chair first.
Okay. A couple things, just want to make a couple notes, and then just have a couple questions. This property is not listed as historic in the historic list, but it was This is being built in 1890 on parcel access, so it's obviously an older house, just wasn't in our historic list. There is significant work proposed to the home. There's a lot of work being proposed to the exterior, so obviously we will want to submit this to APAC for review. Probably asking them to give us a good detailed review on this. The east side of the house has about 3 feet or less to the property line, and there's a fence there. I did see you got a letter, I guess, an agreement with the neighbor saying that they're okay with this. So I think for the purposes of the planning board, that suffices. As long as the applicant and the neighbor's attorneys are okay with it, it's fine. But we just want something in writing that says the neighbors are okay if they go on their property to do work. So I think we're okay with that since the letter's been submitted. There were a couple questions I had about the floor plans, and I think the board just needs to discuss this. I know you said there's no new bedrooms. One of the things we discussed in the pre-con, and the board knows well, we always discuss the potential for a room to be considered that should be considered a bedroom. So this existing basement space is proposed to be changed. It will have, the space here as well as a powder room. And obviously you have a utility room here and the mechanicals. It does come in off of the existing garage and the stairs to the upstairs, but just because it is finished space, it does have a bedroom. I just have to bring it up to the board whether or not, ice, you want to see that looked at. And then on the second floor, there is a den proposed here, but it is at the top of the stairs and it's in the middle, kind of a common space. I don't think we necessarily would see that one as a bedroom, but I just want to raise that as the topic. So that's kind of the big one. I have a couple other minor things, but I just thought I'd bring that up and see if anyone has any thoughts on the basement space.
And I want to make a comment on that. If we could shift to just the photos of the existing space, just so you can see what, that bottom right hand, this image is the existing basement. So just to kind of, we're not making major proposals to improve that. And I guess there is no intention of that being bedroom space. Truly
It doesn't
intended.
look like there's any immediate access to the outside.
No, no,
And a bedroom requires that. You have to be able to get out from the room without taking a stairway or going into another room.
well, it's not, we aren't proposing it as a bedroom. There are existing windows here that do sit above ground and we see the front of the house.
So there are windows here, and like this, I think this is a stairway up, right?
Yeah,
So there
that's
are ways out.
Well, I don't think a stairway would come. Are the windows access windows? Could you get out of them?
We didn't do sort of light and air or egress requirement calculations on our end because we are not considering that.
Which are the windows in that room that we're looking at?
If you go to the elevations, these are those windows that exist into that space. So there's the garage and then the door into the house. And those are existing windows in the downstairs.
And they open?
I think they do. They're not currently operable. As we go through the design process, we will most likely be replacing existing windows and doors with new, more energy efficient ones. We haven't gotten to the point in the process to discuss if those will be replaced or existing to remain.
Okay, well, my understanding is if there is not a way to immediately leave the room without going upstairs and through the rest of the house, but through a window, for example, that opens and is reasonably, easy to get out of, then it does not meet code for a bedroom, and it's not a bedroom.
I would
That's-
also further that if they were placing those windows that do open, I still don't think it's a bedroom, being off the garage and having to, the steps right there. And so I'm comfortable saying regardless of what window they replace it with, it's not a bedroom.
I think the window sills would have to be below 39 inches in order to qualify for point of egress. And also you've got the staircase right there. So it's a communication space. To get to the laundry room, you have to walk through that room. So you wouldn't want to have it as a bedroom because people would be traipsing through there to the laundry room. So I'm fine with that assessment. I would like to know a little bit more about the windows and your intention to change them out versus restore them and what the nature of it.
I think there's a lot, I think Jim's point, early on in this, that there's a lot of proposed changes. And I think we need to know a lot more about what is there historically, what's old, what's not old, just changing windows. You know, we need to know what was there before we start talking about what will go back if we take them out.
Understood. Yeah, everything that we would be suggesting to replace would be replaced in kind. Also, the existing elevations versus the proposed, we've kept similar window divisions, so we would keep the same material type. I think it seems like there's a mixture of vinyl and wood existing. But for example, these are existing windows, and then we're kind of keeping that type throughout the new proposed structure.
With all these various changes in roof lines and everything, how are you going to, I mean, what are you doing to siding on the outside so it's going to read as one?
Yeah,
Are you siding everything?
that might be a little bit of a means and methods with whatever contractor we end up working with. The siding that we would be doing is just replicating what is existing. So it would be a similar lap siding, and we would be keeping the reveals the same to match what's on.
But you'd have to know that before we approve. You have to know that. You don't work that out with the contractor at the end.
I guess in terms of if everything gets removed versus gets piecemealed in. So, for example, there's an existing roof here that would be taken off. So we would replicate match what siding is existing to remain, and we would put in new siding above to match that siding.
We need to know where you're retaining the existing siding and where you think new siding might go.
Okay, so you would need like dash
Part of your
lines.
application.
Okay, so just showing, I guess, graphically, it's matching all of the existing, but you, like, this, for example, is a new addition. So that's going to be new siding to match the existing siding that said, for example, is here.
Right, so if this was all going to remain, just a little, note from the leader here saying this siding to remain, and this siding would say all new, and then up here, if we were going to have to match them together, we would just say.
Just highlight the areas that are
We
new.
need to know kind of what's happening. So my main comment on this is most of this work is related to the historic nature of the property and the area. I have a couple other minor comments, besides the better question, which I had a feeling I know where we get, but had to ask. But it's really, most of this I think is historic discussion.
Yeah, and just because it's not listed historic building, it still is within the historic district, so it has to follow the requirements. And I think we have prohibitions on plastic and aluminum siding. A lot of siding materials are discouraged.
Yes,
So-
understood. Our plan is to basically keep it in kind to what is there and we're not trying to propose anything that's.
What is there? Is it wood siding?
I believe so. It's a mixture of wood, and then, again, on that existing carport, like on this side, there's a few variations in siding. So we would be matching what's on the original house here.
And then everything repainted?
Yes.
Did I see that the first floor on a floor plan?
Yeah, this is the,
That's the place.
yeah, that's the first floor.
On the right,
On the left.
on the left.
This is basement, and this is the main level. So this bump out here is the only addition that we are proposing on the main level floor plan.
The thought that I had, which is certainly up to your discretion, the owner's discretion, but it seemed to me that you could work out an access to that one bathroom, more general access by reworking a few things.
You're saying this bathroom here?
It's the only bathroom on that floor, right?
It is the only bathroom on the first floor, yes.
Anyway, something you might just spend a few minutes thinking about. Might it be possible to have two access points to that bathroom so that guests and so forth can easily access the bathroom? It might mean reworking the washer dryer, or putting that someplace else, just rethinking that one area. if you wish. It's a requirement.
I'll use the one in the basement.
Okay.
Planning board members?
Maybe this is what everyone was referencing already with the dashes, but I found myself thinking, what was the old roof line like? Maybe it'd be helpful to just kind of overlay the old roof line right on the new elevation, just so we can really see it straight up, like where these new lines are hitting, just in the transition, but.
Yeah, I can do another page of elevations that's sort of, we'll keep the existing, I'll show the proposed, but then I'll do one that's an overlay. Because it's really, this is the main roof, that, the sort of this gable with this shed off of it is the main roof that's being removed. So there's kind of this shed that comes over and this hip comes up and comes over and then this gable dives into this. So really what we're proposing is to just have this roof across the front here, just hug the full building. And where that new addition is going, there'll now just be one gable roof across the top. So we're basically taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roof types and just simplifying it into 2 roof types. So that's sort of where that lower gable was, because this is the new portion. So that's where that hip comes up now, and that lower back gable sits. And then at the back of the house, that's where that shed roof would have come down over the first floor bedroom. We're putting the first floor bedroom where the existing first floor bedroom is. And then this is that upper portion that would be all new. But I can add another drawing to better communicate all of that.
Anyone else? Sean, do you have something? Anyone else?
I was just saying, I have a couple minor comments you can get in my notes, but the one thing I didn't see on the plans was exterior lighting. So,
They are listed on the,
is it in there?
I
Oh,
added
it's
it
right
to
here.
all of the elevations, and it's also called out in plan, and I did submit spec sheets for everything,
Okay, I
just
see
showing
that.
that
All
it's
right.
our spec compliant.
Okay. Wait, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me back up. You did submit those, I did catch that. The only point I wanted to make is you were proposing a floodlight, which would tend to discourage, just because it shines light on the neighbors, so if you wanted to, we consider that one. But otherwise, like concepts 1 and 2 do appear to meet the code, just discourage a floodlight, but
Okay,
that's.
if it's a dark sky compliant floodlight, is it still discouraged, just for reference purposes?
Oh, yes.
I think we generally discourage floodlights, just because they have a tendency to shine a lot of light onto other properties, particularly on smaller properties like this.
That's fine, that's not it.
I'm sorry, but yes, otherwise the lighting was fine, sorry, this one.
What would you try to light, floodlight, where on the property? You need more light.
It's not, I think it was one of those, we don't necessarily need the floodlights. I think we do have sufficient lighting at all of the entry doors, as well. We sort of have 2 lighting types. At door locations, more of a decorative light happening at the French doors to the porch and the door to the main entry door, so it's noting that those are main entry points. And then a more modest light at the garage door and the access to the back of the garage door at the back of the house. So these additional floodlights aren't 100% necessary. We just added them in sort of like a standard light that gets added to a lot of projects. But we can remove that if that's not, if it's an issue.
Jim? Have a draft procedural resolution?
Draft procedural resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Andy Maxey for site plan and special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125, renovations to an existing home at 16 Holland Ave within the RCH and RCO, accepting the application supporting documents as adequate for further review by the board, classifying the action as type 2 under seeker, for which board environmental law review is not required. We'll schedule a public hearing for August 3rd, no earlier than 6:05 p.m. We will send it to CAB, WAC, HAPAC. I don't think we sent it to Dutchess County, marks the single family base, so Dutchess County is out. I remember that, they changed their requirements this year. And we need 2 planning board members to do a site visit.
Go,
I'll go.
I'll go with Craig. May I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. We didn't touch the schedule, so, thank you. Have a good evening. The last new application for this evening is that of David Lang, 16 Charles Street, site plan and special use permit for renovation and addition.
How are you all this evening? My name is Josh Wall. I'm the architect for this project, and this is David Lang, the client.
Hello?
Can you hear it? Sorry.
Oh, I said, what?
I am here for a small site plan amendment related to 2 items. You can go forwards. How does the laser move?
It's the second button down, yeah, upside down. There you go.
This one? So I don't know if any of you all remember this, but we had been before you not too long ago, different pieces. Ultimately, what was approved was a dormer element here and some replacing existing vent windows with glees and some skylights as well. In the process, somehow we omitted a stair that the client would like to the upper level. So that is element 1 that's come back in this component here and here on the upper level. We are not proposing a bath, which was proposed prior. So the attic will be an empty space. The dormer will allow a little bit more head height. I believe there's a habitability bedroom question that we have to discuss. And if we go forward. Related to that level now becoming habitable, we've added on the east-facing facade a window here, which complies with egress standards and works to try to be a similar scale to the existing windows here, here, and here, now the facade here. So basically, we are here for an amendment related to this window and the stair to the upper level of the attic.
Actually, Josh pretty much summed up all my comments. Just that they're back for a couple changes. Remember we approved this one, it was maybe 2 months ago, previously. And the only thing I was going to note is that there is a note on the plans stating that the proposed attic space is not for sleeping, eating, or cooking. The space will be accessed by a staircase, attic to be sprinklered and contain egress window. So again, discussion of whether or not it's a bedroom, but beyond that, I really don't have any other comments.
And in an email exchange with Rich, I believe we offered to place a deed restriction, whatever requirements satisfy the board to remove any sense that that's a bedroom up there, and my client can picture as well. It's not being sent to have any sleeping premises.
And the other issue would just be the change in the window size.
So the window on the gable front stays the same?
Correct. Yeah. This is the back facade that we're touching, not touching the south, north, or western faces.
Greg and Melody were there at the site visit. We also paid attention to the air compressor that would be at the rear of the garage, and said that nobody would be able to see that.
Yeah.
We're changing heating and air conditioning in that space.
So, say again?
Heating and air conditioning.
Yeah, it'll get a split system.
For the attic.
Correct.
And so, split system was approved?
It was,
Yeah.
yes.
That remains approved.
Correct.
The system on the back of the garage is approved. So what we're talking about here are changes to the main house system.
Correct.
So have you done there were questions when there about the split and where the conduits were gonna go for the split?
Yeah.
Has that been resolved?
Primarily, no, it hasn't been resolved. We said that we want them in the walls, but as an alternate path, we showed them on the outside. If the walls were not balloon frame, and they couldn't be easily pitched through the stud base.
Yeah.
I guess I'm asking if you remember that they're looking to use the attic in terms of storage for art. And I believe in the approval, they were not having air conditioning and heating up there. They had said that they're just going to be storing art up there, not having conditioning.
I kind of maybe remember reverse. I remember thinking it's conditioned, but there's no stairs, so you're putting a condition where you can't have access, and I thought the response was, well, that's because it's art. I think internally.
Yeah.
So anyway, I also, and I really should know this rule better, but tell me if you have access to a finished space in the attic, and it's not, whether it's for sleeping or not, what are the rules around the sprinkler system, if there's any? I just feel like I keep going back to like, if someone's up there, what is I don't remember.
I don't think we got an answer on the sprinkler system. I think the change in the window is to provide easier egress. If there was.
From the third floor though, is that the rule?
Third floor spaces broadly require sprinkler and
Okay.
egress window. Sprinkler can either be along the egress path to the exterior, or it can be the whole building. We have to negotiate that with them, but there must be sprinklers when you have.
Okay, so there will be sprinklers.
Yes.
There will be, okay, so there will be sprinklers.
Okay. I remember there was also an issue because it's a peaked roof. So that really reduces the amount of available floor space, where you have that 6 foot 6 inch minimum. And it had to be something like 70 square feet or something like that.
Yeah, so basically this, in my estimation or my review, goes by existing building code. Existing building code, New State existing building code allows you to occupy a roof space down to 5 foot ceiling height on a slope, which is a reduction of 7 feet from the normal building code.
Okay.
So the funny part of this is that you really only have a habitable space down through here.
Right.
And it is 70 square feet, but you can't fit a bed in that 70 square feet.
Well, and also you have to put the staircase in there. And as far as its potential use, because if this owner sells it,
Correct.
then the people who buy it
Correct.
might want to use it as a bedroom. But if you've got an open staircase that communicates with another room, you don't have the privacy that would be required for a bedroom.
100%, I don't disagree with that, but I think the reality is this open stair does come down to a kind of common space. Maybe that reinforces your point or not.
Yeah.
But it's not a sealed off room up there.
Yeah, that's exactly my point, is that it kind of eliminates that. When we first looked at it, there was a bedroom up there was a nice staircase. It seemed like an ideal space where you want to put a spare bedroom.
Yeah, and we have bathrooms, which is what.
Yeah. The window that's being changed to the egress window faces to the east.
Yes.
And the window, is it replacing a window that's there, or one of those vent windows?
It's a vent, yep,
Okay.
it's a smaller vent.
And then the only other break that I'll bring up is that on the west facade, that window has a lancet tail on it. That kind of goes with some other.
We're not planning to remove.
Okay, as long as that doesn't get
Yeah.
changed.
It's a small arch top with like a crown over the.
Because I totally support taking the louvers out and putting the glazing in. I think that's a very appropriate change.
I have one question with the window. Is the window go all the way to the floor on that attic?
Pretty close.
Yeah,
So
it's
what is the like protection agent? Like a kid didn't open it?
It's temporary.
Oh, it's tempered.
Yeah, so anything under 36 inches has to be tempered. And 36 inches to the floor
Yeah, yeah.
has to be tempered.
But that, your question was about,
Well, it's operational,
yes.
Yes, it has to. Right.
so it's operational from the bottom.
yes.
Yes, double hung window,
Yeah.
so you can pull the top down, pull the bottom up, but the egress component of it is intended to be the bottom, which I think is the general intent, and that's the 5.7 square feet that's required to get somebody in and out of there.
But is your question in regards to safety? They make hardware where it's only like it's child hardware.
Child-approved.
Yeah.
And yes, all of that was helpful, but I think at the end I was imagining, if a child opens that, and it's
Yeah.
right at the
Yeah.
floor.
Ed has commented on that before, so it is a typical note in our drawings.
Anyone else?
I would just add that I don't think it looks like sleeping space. It's what, with everything they've shared.
Yeah, and I think it makes better sense to have the staircase there instead of the hatch.
Yeah.
It's just gonna, make the space more useful. And I don't think it interferes with its use as a non-bedroom.
Well, I'm assuming because we just were recently there like a month and a half, the first site visit, we're not. I'm open to not having a good
I don't feel the need for site visit. Does anyone else?
No, if Jim already has,
I've been there, you've been there, other people on the planning board have been there, I believe. Been fine with it.
I'd be fine making a determination tonight.
Yeah, this is up to the back in front of the hall. Yeah, I mean, we had no issues, it's from the public property.
Yeah, well, before public hearing.
Talk about waiving.
We're talking about waiving the
Yeah.
public hearing on this. And if you're not taking a site visit and you're waiving the public hearing, we could go 2 weeks out. But you're not, do we have any noticing that we have to do it? It's going to be one.
Public hearing, it's not, I just don't.
Right.
I could look it up.
Well, what is your,
So just explain it to me again, you have to go 2 weeks out, even if we waive all those things?
well, we don't have, Jim has not drafted an approval, which he says he could do in minutes, but, you know, I'm not sure if we go 2
We're
weeks.
happy to come back, whatever you all want.
Why don't we just schedule this for 2 weeks, give Jim the opportunity to do it? So may I have a motion to waive the site visit and waive the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? And then may I have a motion to take this up at the July 20th meeting under old business? Is that where it will start in?
Yep.
So moved.
Have that motion, do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes the new applications for this evening. And that brings us to the public hearing for Rhinebeck Villas LLC, New York State Route 9, Sheet and Middle Road, site plan, special use permit, and wetlands permit. Good evening.
Good evening, Sean Kemp on behalf of Rhinebeck Villas. I had an opportunity to review the draft resolution and negative deck together with part 3. It's clear that there's a tremendous amount of work that was put into this, so I greatly appreciate all the work and effort that this board has put into reviewing the application. There's just a couple of things I wanted to note based on my review. For some reason, there was a reference to the town of Wright in one of the preliminary paragraphs. I think it was just supposed to be the town of Rhinebeck. So paragraph 7. Paragraph 7. And these are pretty minor issues that I'm pointing out. I'm not nitpicking, but I just want to put together the best product possible. And then I think it's paragraph 4. It's a wastewater treatment that has plan instead of plant.
Folks, we have extra copies here. For anyone in the audience, please come up and pick up the one you'd like. Sorry to interrupt you, Sean.
No, no problem.
Anyone else? Don't make me sorry. Apologies.
And then also in connection with the paragraph 4, just one thing I want to be careful about is that it does say well water supply approved by Dutchess County.
Okay, give me one.
This is paragraph 4, and the preliminary, it's at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
One to 7 to 4. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I went backwards. My apologies. So the location for the well is deemed approved and acceptable by the Department of Health. And later on, it explains that we would have to comply with the Part 5 regulations. But there are some additional steps that need to be taken in order for there to be a final approval with the various testings and things of that nature that have to be submitted to the Department of Health. So I didn't want to give the impression that the system is totally approved right now. It's actually the location. But other than that, those were the only issues that I saw. And thank you again.
How would you describe that, Beth? If you're changing
Preliminary, preliminarily is what
Yeah.
I changed.
That would be more accurate.
So, just so that I can be clear, when they approve the location, they're looking at like the distance from, the fact that it's not in a wetland. the distance from bordering properties, separation from sewage disposal, that sort of thing. Not anything about the depth or the quality of the water or anything that's coming out of the well itself. That's in a later stage.
Correct.
Right, so we haven't fully
Yeah.
had that approval.
Those are more rigorous, I guess, standards that need to be met in order to, and it came up, and it is mentioned later on in the materials about the Part 5 compliance.
Okay.
But that's to ensure safety for consumption and things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
And John, anything else, Sean?
That's it.
John, maybe you want to leave this discussion at this point, bring up, talk to the planning board.
Sure.
I have just one question.
I'm sorry.
At the last meeting, we talked about mitigation for the moderate to large impact of the rather lengthy building at the time, and also rock hammering. And we talked about not doing rock hammering on Saturdays because people would tend to be home then rather than at work. And you said that you were going to discuss it with the owner. So has there been any reaction to that?
Well, one of the concerns was that would actually, removing that day could extend the work time frame. So that was the primary concern before going work on Saturdays. And, you lose 4 days out of the month and you're pushing things out further and further. So that was one of the main concerns. And I think after the rock removal is done, that the noise is going to be relatively minimal.
John?
Yes, so the resolution that you have in front of you was drafted as a collaboration between Jim and myself. The technical portions of the resolution that have to do with tracing the process that the board took through completing part 2 of the full environmental assessment form is really what the main body of the negative declaration is. And that retraces the steps and the inquiries that you made and the analysis that you made during the process of going through part 2 of the EAF and the negative declaration. Really the purpose of that is to just provide a detailed explanation of the basis for your decision. So there are 2 documents on your desk. One is a resolution adopting the negative declaration, and then attached to that is the DEC form for part 3 of the full environmental assessment form. And then attached to that is a supplement to that form that contains a narrative explanation of the board's completion of the FEAF Part 2 and the basis for its decision.
Planning board members, if you have questions of John or Jim, I think you've all had a chance to review this.
I have,
Yeah, let me say, Melody, just that the resolution, PDF of the resolution is posted on the town website, and there are, for any member of the public that is interested in it, there are paper copies in front of Melody at the desk. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a number of comments after going through this, and I have to find each of my pages are dog-eared, so this might take a minute.
You can use the paragraph numbers, that'll be the easiest way to.
On on page 10, there's this discussion of the moderate to large impact of the construction. And I had hoped that the applicant would be doing something to lessen this impact. You've heard the discussion about removing Saturdays for rock hammering. That doesn't seem to be something that they would like to do. And since this is a moderate to large impact, I'm wondering if there are other things that we might ask the applicant to do to ease the impact on the neighborhood.
Remind me how long the rock hammering is expected to take, you know?
Sean?
The rock hammering, she's asking about the length of time for rock hammering.
Well, I don't think personally, I don't believe the rock removal is going to be bad. It's very soft rock. And with all the work I've done in the surrounding properties around there, we've never had a blast, salt there, with a ripper or an excavator. So it's soft, so I don't think, I really don't think that the rock removal is going to be a big deal. But realistically, if they're digging it out with an excavator, or it's almost the same as moving dirt, you don't hear a lot of noise. The only time you hear it is when a rock pounder, right?
I think that's what people find most objectionable is that kind of, that shaking that comes with it.
But it's much preferable to glass.
Oh, of course it is, but it's just the duration of that and maybe having to endure that on a Saturday when you're supposed to be home and enjoying
I
life.
have to do it on Saturday. Most of these guys work Monday through Friday.
That's, that was what was that issue, is that we would
I don't think.
want to have that as a stipulation.
Well, but I don't think I have any worry. Most of these people just work Monday through Friday anyway. And,
So are you
Saturday.
suggesting that the applicant should agree that there will be no rock hammering on Saturdays?
When Olive Garden, when he puts the bid out to the contractor, just put it in there, there's no work on weekends, that's all. Remedy it that way.
Sean, do you have any reactions to that?
Personally, I don't find it objectionable to remove Saturday. I'm reaching out to the client to get confirmation on that right now.
Okay, maybe we can come back to that.
But I really don't, just to close up what I was saying, I don't really think the rock removal is going to be that bad in that sector. It's not like we're making the site fall flat. That's going to be multi-levels in there. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to be flat as a pancake, so we have some higher buildings and lower buildings.
Right.
That'd be a bad.
Understood.
On the other hand, there is a lot of rock there.
There is.
From our
Sure, no,
visit to
yeah.
the site, there's a
But
lot
I
of rock.
don't believe it's hard rock.
And we have had applications in the past couple of years where that has been an issue, where the rock hammering has been incessant.
Right.
And we've had people come in and make complaints, not on this site, but
That's
elsewhere in town.
And just
Okay.
best case scenario, we have a provision in there so everyone can feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I just want to say that Locust Hill, the housing development on Frankfurt Road, they've been doing the rock pounding Monday through Saturday. I live a mile away, I hear it, I'm used to it, 6 days a week, it doesn't matter whether it's Monday or Saturday. You know, if that is a very rock hill, and I think it's a hard rock. But hopefully they're getting done with it, but that's part of construction.
Okay, on page 14, sub-item G, this is simply the way that this is described here. It would be like the third paragraph of subsection G, proposed wastewater treatment facility must comply, blah, blah, blah. Shows a discharge pipe to the United States Army Corps of Engineers wetland and intermittent stream. The only thing I wanted to point out here is that the wastewater effluent must go into the intermittent stream before it goes into a wetland. And I think it was just the order of those two items. Because what's stated here is wetland and intermittent stream. It sounded like it's going into the two of them at the same time, which is not true. And you'll see the same issue come up on page 15. Sub-item I, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs down. It's the very same issue.
Sorry, Edna, before you go on, can you just tell me what that, I'm a little slow.
Okay.
15, you said.
Last
15, sub-item I, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs down, where it says the wastewater is being processed and discharged into a wetland and intermittent stream.
Gotcha.
Actually,
Okay.
first it's going into the stream and then into the wetland. On page 17, there is a lengthy discussion of the use of water. And I think that it's important to add two elements to this discussion, which were important to the board's decision that additional testing of wells should not be required. One, excuse me, is a large storage for peak hour use of water. And the second is the extremely large storage for fire prevention water through a sprinkler system. As I remember, it was like 40,000 or 45,000 gallons that will be supplied by truck. And the same issue comes up on page 19. The discussion continues. Some things are repeated. If we're going to repeat some things, then I think this should be repeated as well. The storage for peak use and storage for fire prevention.
And on page 17, the third paragraph down, you'll say that each building will have a water holding tank to provide adequate water for each building's needs.
Say again?
Page 17, third paragraph down. I think it just maybe needs some better details.
You're suggesting
Yeah,
amplifying that
water
next
holding
paragraph.
tank,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We noted it in general, but we can.
Yeah, maybe just amplify that, and then the underwater, that was a huge, because that's a massive thing to talk about that before.
Right, there are two different
Yeah,
storage
yeah, yeah.
compartments.
Let me keep you saying on 19, which is this repeats there. So just to have the clarification there again. Just talks about the water again.
On page 20, sub-item B, again, the wastewater flow is described. And so it's necessary to differentiate between the intermittent stream and the wetland.
Sorry, tell me again where you were.
Page 20, sub-item D, the second paragraph.
Okay.
Sentence of that, John.
We essentially just need to rewrite it so that it enters the intermittent stream and then the wetland. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So should
I can't write as fast as you. Thank you.
On page 34, the last paragraph. This deals with the archaeological assessment. And what's stated here is that the paragraph on the bottom of that page, the report noted that intact soils were found throughout the APE. Bedrock was encountered in several test locations evidence of modern dumping was found. We've never discussed that, and I'm wondering if we can get more information about exactly what was meant by that. And what is modern dumping? Is that some bottles lying, that people threw out of the car, or what is it?
It is, I think we did discuss it, Sean. You had talked about that when we talked about parcel we looked at one point in time. There was just general like trash cans and bottles and things. I think you mentioned it. Maybe I don't know. I remember talking about it.
It wasn't, I didn't end up on some of the other side.
Well, this is right in the archaeological assessment.
I can go in and see what else might be in there.
Somewhere I recall having seen a photograph, it might have been in Hartran's report, that showed some underbrush and a beer bottle and a galvanized can and just litter. And that may be what they're referring to. It might also have something to do with the push pile that's noted on the map.
I think my recollection is just kind of general.
There's
cans,
litter,
bottles.
yeah.
Right. I'd have to go back and double check that to be sure.
On page 45 and 46, which deal with the discussion of was there or was there not any dumping done on this parcel. And what is stated on page 45, the second paragraph, it starts a review of the New York State DEC. We've had a brief discussion about if during excavation, construction, any garbage or dumping was uncovered, that work would stop. And I think that this whole idea needs to be detailed more completely. As I understand it from what you said previously, John, if excavation uncovered what looked like landfill, work must stop, right?
Well, it depends on what, so the reason that it's hard to get into that is because there are different regulatory programs at the state level for different kinds of waste. And most of the time, I think you might recall when we were going through this part of the review and that EAF part 2, hazardous waste is treated one way, solid waste is treated another way, petroleum is treated another way. And there are state programs that regulate those wastes and also regulate the circumstances under which reporting obligation arises when somebody discovers contaminants like that in the course of doing excavation. So the reason that we didn't put anything in this decision with regard to more detail on that is because it's, number one, it's already regulated at the state level, and we don't have the jurisdiction to change whatever reporting obligations there are pursuant to state law. But it would end up, having to go through the various possibilities would end up being an onerous exercise.
Well, what I would like, what I think is called for, is something that is more specific. Even something as simple as if, anything more than a shovelful of a buried whatever, material is found, then work shall stop.
And then what happens after that?
Then I think as you indicated someplace here, the building inspector is called to do a site inspection. And depending upon, what is there, then, what action will be taken depends on what's there.
I just don't think we want to put qualifiers in there of a shovelful or a bucket load or whatever. And we have a sentence in here stating that should issues be identified during construction related to any potential past use, construction be halted, the town building department and other relevant agencies identified. I mean, we don't know what might or might not be there. We can't estimate it, and I don't think we want to go through every state agency trying to figure out what a certain threshold might be. Essentially, if you identify.
Are words like should rather than shall. Like in this paragraph, if should issues be identified during construction related to any potential past use, construction, it says SO, I think.
It says construction shall be halted, and town building department and any other relevant agencies should be notified before further work is conducted. We can change that should to a shall. That's not a big deal.
I think it's.
That's a requirement anyway. That's a legal requirement. It's a requirement of the town building department. It's a requirement of any state agency. If you hit anything that a state agency would regulate, we're just kind of referencing it in here, but it's. I mean, that's the law. They'd have to do it anyway. We can change the should to a shall. That's not a big deal. In the last sentence.
Well, I'm trying to understand what the law is.
I can tell you, or line the building department, honestly.
However, should issues be identified during construction related to any potential past use, this is all very vague.
Well, what does qualify as past use?
Well, that's big, and some of it's vague is because as a planning board, we're not able to come, I mean, there was a lot of information in this, negative declaration discusses that there was a lot of information that assertions that were brought to the board as part of the review, but there was really very little objective, definitive information that the board could rely upon in the record. And so as a result, there wasn't a definitive, the board's review didn't reveal definitive results with respect to the issue of contamination. So, that's why it's, the issue lacked specificity as it was ascertained by the board during the course of its review. And that's reflected in the way that it's been described in the document.
And they have to follow the law. Whatever the law is, they have to follow the law. That would be on the building department and the other outside agencies, of course. That's what it's referenced.
Do we have any baseline data of like what the conditions are of the stream that runs through the property as it is in its undisturbed state? Because this details a solid waste dump of some sort, meaning that it's not liquids that are permeating into the soil and escaping and getting into the wetlands.
Well, that's not my understanding. I mean, what I took from the material that was in the board's record is that it was not possible to characterize. There were examples of potential waste that have been encountered over time on other properties, but it not to the point where it was possible to characterize the nature of the waste.
Okay. Now, you're referring to the what's called the long property? That's in this paragraph. And I just saw this. This was relatively new on my radar. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. But it says in the second paragraph on page 45, the north of Middle Road between Hook Road and 9G was the long property, a now inactive solid waste landfill. And, I mean, the worst that could be, I don't know, lead paint,
I don't know, radioactive material, I didn't know that would.
maybe could be, could also be old mattresses and sheetrock and that sort of thing, so.
Right.
If somebody uncovered a shovel full of gypsum board, how much do we care about that?
Well, this says any,
It says anything that's discovered that has to stop and go to the building department.
Okay.
Like, that's what it says.
So,
And we changed the shall to should, from should to shall, so
Okay,
like,
Right.
if they uncover anything, you got, like, we're saying you have to stop. Now, right, like, hopefully it's good humans.
Yeah.
Right? And we have someone that, from my understanding, we're gonna have higher help for Ed on this.
I was going to say, let's remember that in situations like this, given the scale and scope of this project, we will be recommending that an outside inspector be retained specifically to oversee all the activities. So I don't want to say that we don't put the same level of scrutiny on all of them, but when they're this complicated and someone is consistently going back over and over again, I would expect a higher level of review.
and this paragraph specifically is referring to this graphic that's behind you on the screen. This is the DEC info locator, and it showed this spot right here, right? We did go through this in the past. It's
Yeah,
connected
okay.
solid waste landfill. It doesn't describe exactly where it is, but if you look at where the dot is, and I'm not saying that that's exactly where it is, the dot's over here, right? The property
Not
that
on the
Jack
property,
runs, you know, this is Four Brothers, I'm sorry, the pizza place up there, not Four Brothers, right? So property's running roughly halfway down Middle Road and up. This is where that dot is. I'm not saying that that's accurate, it's just where they placed it on the map. This information here is just referencing that dot. In fact, something was named there, but there's no information provided in there other than the fact that there was a dot on that map. So this is the website that's listed here, this is the information he's referencing, and we just wanted to put in there, as would be required anyway by law, that if anything gets discovered that is unknown, that we looked into, try to find anything, you have to stop and figure out what it is and, report to appropriate authorities, which is the building department first, and then anyone else after that, depending on where we go. Again, just referencing the information we had at hand and all the what we had, trying to just say, this is what we use.
There's really nothing different that this board can do, and I'm happy
We'd
I
absolutely
think
be
we're
beyond.
suggesting, we're pointing out that the word any is in there and agreeing that should can be changed to shall.
And even if we didn't have this in here, even if this paragraph wasn't here, the applicant would still be required to do everything that's listed in here, which is follow the law,
Yeah.
go to the building department if they find something they didn't expect, and figure out what to do next. That's how it works. We had an applicant in before who was proposing a single-family home, found that the soils weren't what they thought they were, right? Kept digging, and then they went to the building department, and they had to figure out what to do about that same situation, different level, but same situation. If you run into something you don't expect, you gotta stop and talk to the building department and figure out where to go. That's really all this is trying to reference.
Yes,
is
okay.
That data point, not having any real specificity behind it, and the fact that if something is found, we've done our best to try and identify everything we can, you have to stop and figure out the next steps. But that would be, again, building department level, DEC, whoever else might be involved. That's my opinion of where we are and what the purpose of that sentence is.
I agree, and we also, we pasted that map into the neg deck on page 40.
Okay.
So, John, it's page 45, you're gonna find that language that you're gonna change it to shall.
Yes.
Also page 46, and page 50, under sub-item
Where
1.
are you on 46?
The bottom of the longest paragraph under subitem H, last sentence where it says ought to be, just say shall be.
Okay,
Right, and there are a
that's good.
couple places where it says so instead of shall or should. And the last one was page 50, under sub-item 1, the large paragraph there.
Shall.
On five.
Page 50, subitem I, I'm sorry, subitem L, last sentence should.
That's all I have.
Others? How do we proceed now? John, does this,
Or this evening.
Did you get an answer on, rock hammering?
Yep, the applicant's okay with, just doing the rock hammering Monday through Friday. But that would not apply to, like regular construction.
Right. So we can put that in this document also, this mitigation of the moderate to large impact.
We will add that as a condition on page 10, just some items, I think we go under some item C, it'll be somewhere in that reference.
Yeah, it is on page 10. Yes. Item E.
so I assume, John and Jim, that you want to take some time to tidy this up? Is that something you wanted to quickly tonight? Is that a fair assumption? Or? do you wanna proceed?
Well, I mean, as long as Jim, I mean, I'm confident that I understand the changes that the board's asking for. And Jim is confident in that as well. He and I can collaborate on making the revisions, and the resolution can be put up to a vote by the board as amended by the discussion tonight. And then we'll make amendments and we'll get Gretchen the final
Do you
version.
want to phrase that resolution for us then?
Well, the resolution itself is actually the first part of the document. I'll just take you through a summary of it.
Okay, that would be helpful.
We have to, yeah, that's true. You should,
What?
well, we're not closing the public hearing
No,
because
we're not.
you have site plan. So,
Correct, okay.
the first, really, the resolution is just talking about sort of the process that the board's followed in getting to this point. So the first section has to do with, is just a description of the property, identification of the applicant, and a description of the project. The second part of the resolution is a description of the environmental review. It also identifies the agencies that were identified as both involved agencies for the purposes of the seeker review and interested agencies for the purposes of the seeker review. And then the rest of that paragraph just traces through the steps that the board went through in receiving the FEAF Part 1 and then going through, as lead agency, the full environmental assessment form Part 2 and completing it, what dates, things took place, and then those steps culminated in the determination by the board to issue a negative declaration as its determination of significance pursuant to seeker. And then the action element of the resolution would be adopting the FEAF Part 3 that's attached along with the supplement that's entitled negative declaration.
And John, I was just gonna say, I think we would add language to item number 21, talking about July 6th, wherever we go with this, we can amend language as needed, but it's on page 3 to 5. Just saying that requested language changes were added and revisions were made as requested and the neg deck finalized. Something to that effect under item 21, so it's related to today's date.
Ready, okay? Then I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion, and I will have a second.
Second.
We will do a roll call vote. Craig Oshesky,
Aye.
Sean Jones,
Aye.
Sharon Sherrod,
Aye.
Edna Lockman,
Aye.
Elise Berry,
Aye.
and I vote aye. We are still open in terms of the public hearing, and so I think that concludes this portion of the meeting, and I'll turn it over to the public this time.
Yes. We'll make the changes to the draft resolution and to the draft neg deck, and we'll get those to Gretchen.
Question? There was discussion about the, I don't know if it's the manufacturer or the provider or whatever of the wastewater system coming before this board to describe exactly how the operation works and what the maintenance is and so forth. Do we have any idea when that can be?
So I had a brief interaction with team engineers earlier today. Because I wanted to see when we would be ready to go through the other components of the site plan. And they were saying to me that realistically, because they need to submit, I think it's about 2 weeks in advance of the meeting so that you have time to look at the materials. It would be, we'd be requesting for the second meeting in September. And I'm sure that at that time, I'd be able to have people here to discuss that.
And I think as we move forward in the review process, that we should be identifying any other professional consultants that we would like to do a presentation of. So we'll be all thinking about it going forward and identify other experts as part of the site. Maybe let us know so we can.
Yeah, and the back and forth that I was having with the engineers was to really have as complete of a package as possible for that September 20th meeting. And I can confirm that someone from, we can certainly have the wastewater treatment engineer here, but I can confirm if we have somebody else that needs to actually talk about the operation of it, if it's outside of his wheelhouse or whatever, I think he'll be able to do it. But I can make arrangements for that to happen at the September meeting.
And that will include maintenance as well, whatever the maintenance requirements are.
Correct. Yeah. And I'll make a note of that.
Anyone else? Public? Yes, sir.
This is about the village.
Yes, you have the public microphone.
Yep.
Introduce yourself.
Good evening, Jeff Carter, resident of Rhinebeck, Hook Road. Sorry I haven't been able to come to the last few, so I'm not really caught up on most recent developments, but I basically have one thing I want to reiterate like I have done many times in the past. As many of my neighbors have done, I'm just curious if there has been any progress on the concept of the developer putting up a bond or in escrow. I'm imagining the point in time after 45 years living in my dwelling, I turn on the tap, no water comes out. What do? Call the well guy. He says, you got no water. Okay. The test, I read the results. On the 2 people, I don't want to regurgitate all this stuff you've heard 1,000 times, but you got to take it seriously, please. A well went down 9 feet in that 72-hour test. Is that right? 72 hours? More or less? Okay. 2 wells, big area. I'm not a hydrologist, a scientist. I'm just some guy with a house that's worried. So when that day happens, do I come back to the board at the next meeting and say, hey, I told you so? Do I go to Mr. Kemp or Mr. LeGrand or whoever the responsible party is and ask for compensation for all that aggravation? All those days in the house goes down. And what has the board done to facilitate my concerns? So if you can just give me in 1 sentence an answer to that question. Anybody. in this room.
We discussed whether there would be, I have mentioned on previous occasions that there's a question about whether what you're asking for is within the jurisdiction or the authority of the board to require. Okay? And I think Ms. Shomo provided some material to me. I've not had a chance to look at that yet because the board's been focusing on the end of the seeker review. But we will take a look at that and provide information to the board on whether what you're asking for is something that's possible.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your answer. John, thank you. But I want the rest of the board, and I want you to pay attention to me, please. It's within your power to require that. It's not going to cost them anything if it never happens. Okay? It'll cost me a lot of money if it does happen. So what's the imbalance here? Please. I don't understand it. And thank you very much.
Mark 61. And if I may just ask some questions, I want to clarify some things. So you just finalized basically your secret review and voted for a negative declaration, thank you. And then, so you're done with that. Now you're going on to site plan review and wetlands permit. Do you have any idea how long those processes will take? I don't quite understand what can change, given that you've done a secret review. Is it just they present details and you say yes? I mean, what are the things that are going to be up for consideration in the next meeting?
It's very specifics of the application. Or, John?
So, Catherine, there are, we're under the seeker review. The board is taking a look at potential adverse environmental impacts, and those have to be identified at an early stage in the process pursuant to the state seeker program. And the seeker review is conducted pursuant to state law in accordance with state standards that are set forth for environmental review. So now that that's concluded, the review will progress into the review of the proposed project as it has been changed during the seeker process. And the board will be applying, we have separate standards in the town of Rhinebeck zoning law for site plan review. And they're set forth in the zoning law. Separate standards that are set forth in the zoning law for the special use permit, which this project also requires. And then there are also standards for the wetlands permit. And what the board will be doing going forward is taking those standards that are set forth in the zoning law and applying them to the project design and site plan that has emerged from the seeker process, and making sure that the proposed project meets the standards of the zoning law. I hope that's of some help.
It feels a little backwards to me in that there's so much detail of this project that you don't have yet, that you haven't gone through a detailed look at the septic system. We'll do that in September. So it just feels a little bit like I'm not sure what we can even impact going forward now that you've determined no impact for the seeker. So I'm just really legitimately trying to find out for myself, do I keep coming to these meetings? Because is there even anything we can affect? Or
The only thing I would say,
we can just go home now.
for some of the folks that have been around, and John and Jim in particular, The same order of things happened with the Rock Ledge proposal, which took a long time as,
Was a big
as
proposal.
this has, big project. And I would say that until the very end, things were being changed. And, I remember at the very end, the colors of the buildings changed because of feedback from the public. So I don't think you should assume that all decisions have been made and there's no room for public comment. Because I did feel as we went through that toward the end, that we were looking at everything again from the perspective of this is the site plan and not the concept. Do others recall that as well?
I would also say that the public comment deeply impacts our questions and our thought process around it. And it's a very long process that's not just a yes or a no as we make every little decision and layer of feedback through it. And you guys are monumental in helping us think that through.
Okay, I won't belabor it any, it's like, it doesn't feel, as soon as I said the word feel, I thought, oh, I can just hear there's not enough data, there's not enough concrete evidence at play. So maybe I should just take that word and throw it out and say, it doesn't seem like some of the details of what we brought forward were discussed by the board as a whole. So then then back to feeling, the evidence to me suggests that we just brought things forward and we just went into a control. So I'll be back on whatever the next meeting is. It's like, I think you've been following the process you follow with everybody else. I don't think you haven't been making exceptions. And it's just, this is probably the first time I've been as deeply involved in this particular process. So,
So Catherine, I know where you're coming from. Can I take one more stab at trying to explain sort of why you feel the way that you do about it? So the way that, so the idea behind seeker, okay, when it was enacted was to, let's start thinking about potential adverse environmental impacts before applicants go out and spend the money to do fully engineered plans. Because if we require applicants to come in with fully engineered plans, there's going to be a resistance to making changes because of costs and time and everything that goes along with that, to try to accommodate the things that we discovered during the environmental review part of the process. So the idea was to get a good workable level of detail that the board needs to make decisions about environmental impacts. And that's, that process of going through the questions that the state provides on the EAF Part 2. And you will see that there were junctures in this procedure where the board said we need more information. The amount of rock to come out is an example that the board wanted the applicant to provide more information. But the idea is that things behind seeker is that there is a certain amount of looseness to it so that there's a flexibility to make changes to the design of the project at an early juncture. And then when the time comes to do a more detailed, harder set of site plans, those changes are things that can be baked into that version of the plan. And then that second level of review kicks in where the board sits and takes the site plan. And I would suggest that if you take a look at the site plan criteria, and the zoning law is pretty detailed, and the special use permit criteria is pretty detailed, you'll see the standards that the planning board is now going to apply to the site plan that was in front of them after it's been changed through the secret process, so we may.
Thank you.
And if I could just share my own understanding of this, it's like a sculpture, where you're gonna first define the rough contours of the thing that you're, the applicant is, right, it's got, you got the basic shape of it, and that's where we engage the seeker. And from there on, it's all about the refinement and the details and, the eyebrows and that sort of thing that go into making the thing a finished product. But, John is right, it's, we use the same process for a paper mill or for a cement plant. It's, our duty from here forward is to be much more focused on something that is specific to this town and the local requirements that we have. So I would encourage you to stay engaged to the extent that you care about a good outcome.
I think I hope, well, probably more than the other one of our commitment to staying engaged has been there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
Hi there, Melissa Schultz, 39 Hook Road. I guess I have built it on what Catherine and Jeff Carter said, and maybe I don't understand the jurisdiction of this planning board, but I'm curious. First of all, it seems like some of the work we've done isn't fully shared with everyone on the board. Like, would it be better to bring hard copies of some of the, like the letter about how it has been done in other places where money has
That's what
been.
is very good at circulating to the planning board.
Oh, okay, I thought Mr. Lyons just mentioned he hadn't read my letter about that.
I did read your letter.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I
I didn't do the
misunderstood.
research to reach an answer to the
I
question
see,
about
okay.
whether that authority exists in New York State, which.
Got it, I see. Then the other thing which is related is about the 2004 letter. I'm not from the government agency about contamination on that plot. Because it sounds like some other people have quoted that there hasn't been, I mean, that letter clearly said further testing is needed. I brought this up at the last planning board meeting, and I know Mr. Kemp said, we've addressed that. It's in the 149-page document on the Google Drive. I read through every single line of that document. I spent a lot of time going through it. It hasn't been addressed. So I feel like I'll shut up and go away, I promise, if someone can give me an answer. Like, what is the downside? Someone said in the local government, further tested is needed. And it's never been done, to the best of my knowledge. We can't find it. What is the downside of having the developer do some testing? I think Delise even brought this up many, many meetings ago, but I feel like there's never been a resolution to it. And I will go away and never bring it up again if someone can just answer for me, what is the downside when local residents' health is at risk? If we have a lot of reason to believe there have been things dumped there, and there is evidence of that.
On the applicant's property.
Yes, on that, yes. That was one of the plots listed in that 2004 letter.
I
And
took
feel
a
like it's
hard,
been
I took a hard
misquoted, but-
look at that letter, and that letter was from the Dutchess County Department of Health
Yes.
to the DEC. The Dutchess County Department of Health doesn't have the jurisdiction to regulate waste disposal. It was a letter from DOH saying, notifying DEC of the existence of the facts that the DOH set forth in that letter, and asking DEC to do something about it, and DEC didn't do anything about it.
Right,
And
yes.
so we as a board, we have to operate on objective evidence. Somewhere a decision was, somebody received that letter at DEC and no regulatory action was taken with regard to that,
Right.
with regard to that information.
I
I hear you, and I agree. Not a single person in this room had anything to do with that decision in 2004. But now it's 2026. We have families that live, stone's throw away from this. And once digging and excavation starts, I want to be assured that my kid is not going to be contaminated with whatever's flying in the air. So I don't think it's an unreasonable request that the developer should do some testing on that land. Again, it would make all of us feel better, just like having money in escrow in case our wells dry up. There's no downside to it. If they're correct, then they get the money back in 5 years. Everyone wins. It's a win-win. I don't want to stop this development. I just want to make sure that my kid is going to be safe.
I understand your concern, and you just have to understand from, that's the perspective that you're applying to it, which is fair. You also have to understand from the planning board's perspective that legally, any conditions that get attached to approvals that are issued, if they were to be challenged in court, there has to be a sufficiently substantial nexus between the problem that's been identified and the condition. And the decision's been made in this instance that there isn't a sufficient nexus between the information that's come up and the ability to require the applicant to conduct what would be quite expensive amount of work to essentially prove a negative, that, prove that there's nothing on their property. And on top of that, those kinds of investigations also, I'm not saying it with regard to this particular piece of property, but those investigations are difficult because, there are lots of questions about how studies like that get framed in terms of what areas of the property would be recovered, what would be the ratio that would be used on a grid to do subsurface sampling, how far down would the sampling go, what kind of constituents are you going to be sampling for. It's an extremely complicated process. And so the board has to stay within its authority to require conditions, and that's really what's happening here.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we will be continuing the public hearing. May I have a motion to continue the public hearing to?
We have the second meeting in September.
First. Yeah. So it's skipping August entirely. And going to September 21st.
That's correct.
May I have a motion to continue the public hearing until September 21st? Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carried.
So Sean, when do you expect to have complete landscaping plans at that time?
I don't know if the landscaping will be complete. I can talk to my team though and tell you what they intend to submit so that the board has kind of a heads up on that. I'm obviously not in charge of those plans. I don't want to make any misrepresentations, but I have no problem talking to the team and then shooting Gretchen an email.
Same question on the structure around the wastewater system. Is someone thinking about that?
Yes. Well, we talked about when you say structure, you mean fencing?
I mean, some sort of way that you're not seeing it.
Yeah, definitely screening, trying to, I don't want to say bury it, but put it into the ground as much as possible. Screening both from the fence perspective and as well as bushes, things of that nature. Yep.
So, if I heard you earlier correctly, you're looking at as complete package as you can put together by that time.
That's correct.
So I would just encourage you, since it probably is going to be a lot to look at, to shoot for getting it to us 2 weeks before that meeting. I mean, I know you're not obligated to do that, but there'll be a lot to look at, and the more we can see it in advance.
That was the assumption that we were operating under because the team knows that it's gonna be a big submission, so we wanted to give it in 2 weeks before, so that the board had an opportunity to review it. Okay, thank you.
Under old business this evening, we had scheduled Elizabeth Grammaticus, 41 Hook Road, site plan review, wetlands permit. She has asked for that to be continued to August 3rd.
July 20th.
Pardon?
July 20th.
Oh, you changed on me. Okay. My,
Normally, they requested the next meeting.
but she wants to go to July 20? Okay, may I have a motion to continue under old business
I'll make that one.
to July 20? Thank you very much. Motion a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then the last two things to take up is the CBA referral from Foster Flooring and the timeline extension for expiration. Well, Grace Bible, first is the CBA for sign.
So, a while back, I think everyone here has been involved in this. Grace Bible Church, Fellowship Church, came in to do an expansion of their property. They wanted to do an addition and make significant changes. I think it was that one size of the building for these purposes. They received reapproval for construction of the addition of the church at the January 6th planning board meeting. And the extension is needed for site plan and special use permit approval. The wetland permit was reapproved on January 6th. It's valid for 2 years, so I don't think we need that one. It's only a paperwork and conditions extension with no changes to the plans as previously approved. And so I felt that it would be adequate, unless the board has reason not to grant them a 6-month extension for satisfaction of the conditions and requirements set forth in the approval resolution from January, extending their deadline from July 6, 2026 to January 6, 2027.
So I move that we do that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
Only once.
No.
So the
Getting almost into Terminator Skynet time. But Reese got sent back from 2029, I think.
So the other one is the CBA referral for Foster Flooring, which is on 9G. They showed us these signs previously at the planning board, but they were not submitted for official approval because they need variances for these. So as we've done with a lot of commercial proposals, we encourage them to submit signs separately after the planning board approval, so they don't hold up their application. As you know, the project is underway, under construction. They want to come in and provide a double-sided sign that's 12 square feet per side, where only 12 square feet total is permitted. That would give them 24 square feet for that sign. And then the total signage for the whole site would be 42 square feet of sign area, where only 30 square feet is permitted. The sign will be made from wooden planks and painted with posts. Appears to be consistent with the renderings that we saw originally. I do have a question about the sign location, whether that's exactly where it was shown on the plans. It's just something I would reiterate back to the ZBA just to confirm that it's being shown consistently on the location on the plans, making sure it isn't in the DOT right of way. But as we've noted in the past, with commercial operations located on principal roads, the sign code is pretty strict and allows for pretty small signs. So the question before the board is whether you have any issues and want to provide any comments, or if you think the ZBA should just refer the application.
What's the one on the building set?
Well, Foster.
So they need both?
They already got the one.
Huh?
Right.
We got the one already.
What does it say underneath? Flooring and,
Carpet since 1976.
I know it's not what they're asking us, but I like drive by and see Foster, and like, not very descriptive of the flooring place, with the tire so small. Like,
I think the intent is that will be on the sign up by the street.
yeah.
But the sign by the, this is signed by the street, right?
This is what they need the ZBA.
Well, she's just saying that you
Variance.
just see the name, you don't really understand what
It's
the
not,
business is.
and there's Fosters in town, it's almost like a little confusing to me, but, side note.
Roughly,
The building itself, what color is it to be
The white, I think it's this
White is showing, and it's this card, and
Wow.
I think I'm better.
It's,
I'm hearing,
Is that?
yeah, a lot of people are complimenting the building. They seem to be pleased with it.
I think it's a vast improvement over what had been there.
Oh,
Yeah.
But as far as the road signage, since we are so careful and it is a scenic drive, they need to pay special attention to the size of that oversized sign that's being presented for the road. And by reducing that in size to the compliant size, it could probably bring down the overall square footage as well.
Well, yeah, they would be within the code requirements, but that would give them 6 square feet per side. So with a 2x3 sign.
Yeah.
this one's 3 by 4 roughly.
Right.
What
This
does it say? Flooring and what?
Carpet,
carpet since
1976.
It's sort of known as Foster flooring. I've always heard it referred to that way, which makes a lot more, communicates a lot more than Foster flooring and carpeting.
I had also understood that this was going to be a B2B, not a retail operation, that you would have architects and designers going there, looking at the flooring in the showroom, and not
I
necessarily.
thought it was always going to be retail.
They got to show them. I don't think they anticipated high volume of traffic. Our discussion,
Yeah.
low volume of traffic, but they did anticipate, but not a high volume retail type
This is
operation.
one of those topics that generates a lot of conversation. I know that people like the zoning board of appeals, and Scott has been very open about that. He feels they're too restrictive because if they're not visible enough, people are prone to be looking for a sign, can't find it, can't read it, and become more of a traffic hazard than not. So I know that the square footage of signage is going to come up in future reviews when we're looking at zoning law and compliance. I'm not arguing one way or the other, I'm just saying it is something that there's some very noticeable differences in how people feel about it. I guess I was thinking, I didn't need the sign on the building if I had this by the road, but you say it's already there, so the one on the building feels redundant to me. Once you're already in there, it's not gonna take me anywhere, that second sign, but,
I think if you're northbound, you'll see the one on the building. If you're southbound, then the first one you'll see is the one by the roadway.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can't have it on both sides, I just,
I think it's on both sides. I mean,
what's the
question
point
is
if
the
you only
size
have
of
it
it.
on one side?
Jim, can you just clarify, someone brought up, how far off the road is it? I mean, how many feet are we talking?
Well, that's what I can't really tell. The original site plan had it back behind the road right of way. They don't, the dimensions on the plan that they submitted were a little odd. I don't really know what they're measuring from.
Is there any proposal for landscaping associated with it?
I saw on the plans, no.
I mean, does that,
It says 20-foot side setback from the property line, but if you look at the other one that we approved, it was a setback from the right of way. So I just want to make sure that 20 feet from the property line is the same as whatever the setback was from the right of way, because they use 2 different measurements.
so maybe those are some,
So those are some comments right back, just
comments that we can
clarification.
pass on to the ZBA. I don't personally have a terrible problem with it, but I wouldn't leave it up to the ZBA to use their own discretion with the comments that we brought up.
I'm good with that.
All right. That's it.
Good?
Yeah.
Something there.
Just need a motion to adjourn.
I need a motion for the flooring and comment.
Well, I thought we did, I'll have the formal motion to grant the motion.
I make
Second.
that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstention, motion carries. Now I'll have the motion to adjourn. Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstention, motion carries. Thank you. See you all in 2 weeks.
Yes, right.